By the end of this episode, you'll see why two men, separated by over 2,000 years, argued over the question that defines your entire life. Are you born with a purpose, or do you create it? Because if Aristotle was right, your path is waiting to be found. But if Sartre was right, your path doesn't exist until you build it. And that changes everything. So picture this. You're sitting in a small cafe on a rainy Thursday morning, steam rising from your cup. You've been feeling lost lately, stuck between jobs, relationships, or even life itself. You scroll through social media and see everyone else thriving. New jobs, engagements, kids, travel, fulfillment. You sip your coffee and whisper, "What's my purpose?" That question, the one you've asked in the dark, lying in bed on a quiet night, or in front of a mirror, is the same one that's haunted humanity since we learned how to think. And two men, Aristotle and Sartre, gave us two radically different answers. So let's start in ancient Greece, a world of marble columns, sunlit academies, and philosophers walking barefoot while debating truth. Aristotle, one of the greatest minds to ever live, believed something profound. Everything in nature has a purpose. He called it teleology, from teleos or telos, meaning end or goal. To him, nothing exists by accident. The eye exists to see, the heart exists to pump blood, the acorn exists to become an oak tree, and you exist to fulfill your unique potential. To Aristotle, you have an essence, a built-in purpose like DNA for the soul. And when you align your life with that essence, he says you flourish. He called this eudaimonia, true fulfillment, not just happiness. The state of being fully alive, fully yourself. So if you asked Aristotle, "Why am I here?" he'd smile and say, "To become the best version of what you were born to be." Now fast forward 2,000 years. World War II has scarred Europe, bombed cities, broken souls, and questions that logic can't answer. Enter Sartre, sitting in a smoky Parisian cafe, cigarette in hand, eyes full of rebellion. Sartre rejected Aristotle's comfort. He said, "No one is born with a purpose. Existence precedes essence. You exist first, and only then do you find who you are." For Sartre, there is no cosmic blueprint, no divine plan, no built-in goal. You are the author, not the actor. The page is blank until you write it. That's freedom, but also terror. Because if life has no given meaning, then you bear the responsibility of creating it. Every choice, every action is a brushstroke on a canvas of who you become. Let's bring it home. Imagine you're in a job you hate. You wake up, drag yourself through traffic, stare at the screen and whisper, "What am I even doing?" Aristotle would say, "You're not fulfilling your essence. You're misaligned. Find what you were made for, your purpose, your teleos, and live with it." Sartre would say, "You're not trapped. You're choosing this every day. You have the power to rewrite the script, to act differently, to become someone else." The first tells you to discover yourself, doesn't it? And the second tells you to create yourself. Both are paths of meaning. One relies on destiny, the other on decision. So let's take one of Sartre's favourite metaphors, a knife. A knife, he says, has an essence before it exists. Someone designed it for a purpose, to cut. That's teleology. But humans, there's no maker handing us a manual. We exist first, and then we define our function. We might teach, fight, write, create, destroy. We get to decide what kind of knife we become. That's what Sartre meant when he says, man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. But let's be real, freedom sounds romantic until you feel it. Until you realise no one else is coming to tell you what your purpose is. No one's handing you the map. You wake up, stare at the ceiling and think, if meaning isn't given, how do I know what to do? That's the heart of existentialism, the anxiety of freedom. Sartre calling it anguish, that silent panic that comes when you realise the pen is in your hand and the page is blank. And yet, this is where existential courage comes in, the bravery to create meaning even when the universe doesn't hand you one. To act even when you don't know if you'll succeed. That's the essence of living authentically, according to Sartre. So let me tell you about Daniel. For 15 years he worked in the office. Great money, miserable heart. And he said one day, I think I've lived someone else's life for 15 years. That's Aristotle's nightmare, potential unfulfilled. But it's also Sartre's. Cool. Freedom misused. Daniel wasn't trapped, he was terrified. Terrified of leaving certainty, terrified of choosing wrong. But in the end he left. He sold his suits, bought paints and moved to Spain. Today he makes art that sells across Europe. And he once said, I stopped trying to find my purpose. I started creating it. And that's Sartre, alive and breathing in the modern world. Now let's play with your imagination. So picture two roads ahead of you. On the left, the path to discovery. You search for purpose. You believe it's waiting out there. A destiny you were born to fulfill. You're patient, reflective, and guided by intuition and nature. On the right is a path of creation. You accept that purpose isn't waiting. It's forged in the fire of your choices. You become the sculptor, chiselling meaning from chaos. Which one do you take? There's no right or wrong, but one gives you peace, the other gives you power. So here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to pick one. The sweet spot between Aristotle and Sartre is creating purpose that feels destined. The sweet spot between Aristotle and Sartre is the creating purpose that feels destined. You act freely, but you align those actions with something that feels deeply true, something that resonates, that hums in your bones. Maybe Aristotle and Sartre weren't enemies after all. Maybe purpose and freedom are two sides of the same coin. Maybe you discover your essence through your choices. So how do you live this philosophy? Well, you listen to your pull first of all, don't you? There's something in you that calls. Listen to it. That's your essence, according to Aristotle. And don't wait for clarity. Clarity comes from action, not thought. That's your freedom, according to Sartre. And every choice defines you. Even indecision is a decision. Existential courage means failing forward because meaning is born through struggle. Don't just live, interpret your life. Every chapter you write becomes part of your future essence, doesn't it? Now pause, let's look at ourselves, really look, and ask, am I living my design or my decisions? Because here's the thing, no one's coming to tell you who you are. You can wait for purpose forever, or you can create meaning right now with the choices in front of you. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Sartre said, we are what we choose. Either way, you're the builder, the architect. The world won't hand you purpose. It's too different for that. But you can make your life a sculpture of meaning. Maybe you'll never know what it's meant to be, or maybe you will. But if you live it fully, courageously, authentically, that's enough. Because the ultimate purpose of life might just be to give it purpose, possibly. So if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone standing at a crossroads, someone searching for meaning, or afraid to create it. Because the truth is, you don't find purpose, you forge it with courage, with choice, and with heart. Even if there is an inherent purpose you're meant to fulfill, you still have to make the decision to act into that. And remember, every legend, every great life started as a blank page. Take your pen, because yours is waiting.